For many kids, their doll is more than just a toy they hold tea parties with, or take to bed when they're scared. It can actually be their best friend, or the brother or sister they never had, or maybe their little special confidant. But there are also stories of dolls that live a life of their own. Dolls that come to life and seem to be possessed with malicious souls or even demons. Here are 5 dolls that are believed to be possessed and are, or can be, very malicious. Number 5. Joliet. What would you do if your family was cursed and part of that curse was a haunted baby doll? That is what happened to Anne, mother of a newborn and 4th generation of the cursed ladies. The doll was given to her great-great-grandmother by someone wishing her harm. She would give birth to a boy and a girl, but the boy would mysteriously die after 3 days. And this has been happening to all females in the bloodline, and it seems as if the doll has something to do with it. At night, giggles and inhumane screams can be heard coming from where the doll is being kept. The family claims that the cries and sobs of multiple baby boys can be heard from the doll, and thinks that the doll is actually a vessel for the baby boys it took the lives of over all these years. Number 4. Samantha the haunted eBay doll. Getting your hands on a supposedly haunted doll is not as hard as you might think. There are hundreds of haunted dolls for sale on eBay right now, and people would buy multiple dolls in order to find one that is actually haunted. One of these dolls, Samantha, was sold on eBay after the doll scratched the husband of her owner, Debbie from King's Lynn. The woman was frantic and decided that it was best for the doll to be sold. After being put on eBay with an account of what happened, the doll sold for just under £1,000 to a man in South Yorkshire. The man who bought the doll was a 30-year-old paranormal investigator. He directly felt that there was something wrong with the doll, and not 2 days after it arrived by courier, the doll attacked the man's father. My dad was downstairs in the morning, and at this point, the doll was still packed away, Lee, the new owner, said. My dad heard a tapping noise on the wood of the box, which he said was a bit unusual. And when he was rewatching one of our live streams we were doing with the dolls, he said his arm was hurting. And after he lifted up his sleeve, he had 6 scratches on his arm. This has not been the only claim since the doll has been brought into the house. There have been strange noises and flickering lights and broken artifacts. Lee's father was using a random word app to communicate with the doll. When he asked what her name was, Samantha came up. And when he said that she pissed him off, her answer was, "Strike Lee." Lee believes the doll has an innate hate for married men. He and his parents did some research and discovered that the doll originally came from America and was often given to newly married couples. What do you believe? Is Samantha really haunted, or is it just a great way to make an extra buck on eBay? Number 3. Island of the Dolls. If you are not a big fan of creepy dolls, you should stay away from this Mexican island. On this little island, dolls are literally hanging from the trees. This all came to be when the only man that was living on the island fished a drowned girl out of the canal running by. He wanted to ease the soul of the girl and get rid of his nightmares by hanging a doll in the tree. He would fish out more dolls and parts out of the canal and would later hang them in the same tree. He became obsessed until every tree on the island was filled with dolls and doll parts from everywhere he could find and gather. Many of the dolls are missing their limbs, and some of the dolls are nothing more than a head. The time and the environment have made them decay even further. The people living close to the island say the dolls make noises, and when you turn your back on them, they might even move or giggle, and they blink and whisper. Their owner, the man that found the body of the little girl in the canal, eventually drowned in that same canal himself. Number 2. Annabelle. Over the past few years, the haunted doll Annabelle has become famous through the several movies that have been made about her. In the 1970s, two young students were living in a cozy apartment until one of their mothers brought a raggedy old doll as a birthday present. The doll would change positions when the girls, Donna and Angie, weren't home. And at first, the movements were small, as if someone bumped into the doll and forgot about it. But the doll would become increasingly brazen, and it would just turn up in completely different rooms. The girls would eventually lock the doll into a room. But then little creepy notes would turn up, and the weird thing, nobody owned the paper the messages were written on. The little papers would normally say things such as, "Help us," or "Help Lou." Lou was a friend of the girls that used to come over a lot, but complained that the doll was possessed and evil. And the doll also seemed to have stigmata where its hands turned out to be bloody. The girls decided to hire a medium. A bizarre story came to light when the three of them held a séance. The medium claimed that a 7-year-old girl once died on the property and was lonely. The girl decided to inhabit the doll in order to get closer to the two girls living where she led her own life. Out of pity, the girls started treating the doll like a little girl. They played with her and gave her a lot of attention. One day, Angie and Lou were talking in the living room when they heard a noise in Donna's room. This was weird since Donna herself was not at home at the time. Angie, scared there might have been an intruder in the house, sent out Lou to check the room. But there was nothing amiss, except for the doll sitting in the chair instead of on the bed where Donna left it. Lou moved closer towards the doll, and before he knew, he would feel a burning pain into his chest. Scratch marks started to appear, and he felt a dark force coming from the doll. Now a priest and the famous Warrens were called in, and it soon became very clear that Annabelle was malicious and wanted nothing more than to possess the soul of Donna. In fact, she was a demon attached to the doll. And after the priest exorcised the apartment, the Warrens decided to take the doll back home, driving through back ways. They did this because they were convinced that the doll would find a way to cause accidents and get away if they drove on the highway. And she sure did, as the car, even driving through small villages and calm roads, was plagued with problems. The Warrens, in fact, had to build a special case to lock her into as she started to turn up in weird positions and even levitated above their desks. And it is even said that she caused a car accident the above-named priest was part of. Number 1. Robert the Haunted Doll. Robert might as well be one of the most creepy dolls ever in existence. He was made in Germany by the Steiff Company, who are still around and making amazing dolls and teddies. He was handmade to the image of Robert Eugene Otto, the boy who owned him. The boy would go through taking the name Jean, and the doll was called Robert. Robert and Jean were best friends, and just as best friends and siblings do, little Jean shifted the blame onto his doll Robert every time he did something naughty. Jean grew up to become a notable artist and kept the doll in his home until he died in 1974. The new owner of the house, however, would hear footsteps in the attic, and a plumber heard giggling, and when he turned around to look who was laughing at him, he found out that the doll had moved across the room. Malcolm Ross, a local reporter, got wind of the story and visited the doll. But when a friend pointed out Robert's backstory to the journalist, the expression in the doll's face changed, as if the doll was listening to the conversation. The doll was donated to the Fort East Mortella Museum after the current owner of the house had enough of the doll moving around on its own through the house. Now the doll is on display, but photo cameras and video equipment seem to malfunction while he's around. What's more, every year the museum receives numerous letters addressed to Robert, asking him for forgiveness for taking his picture. Have you ever met Robert? What were your experiences? Thank you for watching another top 5 video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and to subscribe for more goodies every week. Thank you so much and hope to see you next Saturday.